the XENNS Mangird Top Pro. Let's talk about it. This is a double dynamic driver 8BA IEM that costs around $500. This is a personal unit. I did get a slight discount, but then I had to pay import taxes, which is less than ideal. So, it kind of worked itself out. Let's start by looking at the build quality of this IEM. The shell of this IEM for me is exceedingly comfortable, and to me it's one of the better shells out there. It fits in ear well, it's vented, it has a metal nozzle, it has a pretty faceplate, and is all around a nice set. It's light, it's comfortable, I don't have many faults with it. It's really one of my favorite shells. I enjoy wearing it. I find it personally comfortable. It isolates well, and I don't really have a fault with it. I used to think that titanium was the best, but in some ways this is really nice because it's so light. It is a flat 2-pin cable connector. It has an anti-tragus catch you can see on the right top of the IEM. And overall, I just find it to be a comfortable, nice, well-made shell that I don't have major faults with it. I like the design of it, of the faceplate, to boot. On the right is the Plus Sound case that I just bought for $100. I recently kind of did a quick written review of 2 Plus Sound IEMs, which are very expensive. I didn't like them, but I like the case. Now, the Plus Sound case is $100, and it is a very nice case. The XENNS case is nice, but it's the leather one, it's not as nice to the touch. It's also not as big, but it is a nice case, the kind of case that you'll see on IEMs that are often more expensive, like the Afu Cantor, like some of the AME IEMs have this similar case. But this case in itself is made of a different kind of leather. It's like a little bit less scaly, and it does feel extremely premium. And I like this case, and I think it's a nice touch, especially at this price. The accessories are good. You have a 4.4, you have a 6.3 connector, you have 3 sets of fancy tips. You also have this little kind of case thing, like a little pouch if you want to put your IEMs in it, and you have a shirt clip and a cable that we'll take a look at now. Easy to tell, R for right, L for left. Cable. It is a pretty cable. It's a little bit thin, but no major faults. The Y split, or the chin slider, feels a little bit loose, but not too loose. It has a nice Y termination, nothing too exciting. It is a plush cable. It feels nice. You can pull this off and you put it back on. It's kind of like the Dunu style kind of locking system. It's a nice cable. I don't think it's super fancy, but it is a appropriate cable for this price point, and I like this cable. This is an interesting tuned IEM, and by interesting I mean good. This fits exactly with my wheelhouse as far as how I like IEMs to be tuned, so it's kind of pretty much just right there. As far as how it sounds and what it does, there is something about the mid-range that's very nice. It's slightly elevated, the bass is slightly elevated, and it just kind of raises up and in a nice kind of tonality that presents itself almost in a dark sort of a manner. There's a lot of great options at 500, like the Oracle 3, the Megafest, the Brain Dance, even other IEMs sometimes can be a great set. So we are going to do a lot of comparisons to this set, but it's just that kind of mild V-shaped set that fits kind of in my wheelhouse and kind of in that JM1 style of approach. And I think it's a very effectively tuned set that does a lot of great things and very few faults, unfortunately. So this is going to be a little bit of a glowing review, but we'll try to be critical when critical needs to be. Okay, let's look at the graph of the XENNS Mangird Top Pro. You'll notice it's very similar to what I have as my graph. There's a little bit of a dip here and a little bit of extended range here at that 200 to 300 range, which is very subtle. but it's an overall subtle set. It does kind of have nice treble and air extension. It is a little, it could be a little bit much for some people, but for me, this is a nice set. Oftentimes I'll see graphs like this and find them dull. Like if you want to look at the 7 Hertz 0, 2, this is a set that looks very similar to this, and the 7 Hertz 02 is like a $20 set. It does have a nice tonality, but you'll notice like it doesn't really have a lot of pristine detail. It kind of falls off a cliff to a certain extent, and like that treble extension of the Critical 02 really isn't there. But the Mangird Top Pro does a really good job with its treble detail and air, and I really like that. If we look at a few other sets, I wanted to show you the variations, and I've normalized this at 800, which some people normalize at 800. Oftentimes I normalize at 5. But what I want you to notice is that like the variations does have a little bit of air up here, a little bit less sparkle and detail, but right around 600 it kind of raises up and kind of goes up like so. Like this reminds me a great deal of the Dusk DSP. Let's take a look at that right now. And as we look at the Dusk DSP, it kind of has that similar like mid-range from like 800 up as the Dusk DSP, and it has additional air and detail. So it's a little bit more V than the Dusk DSP, but it hits that wheelhouse of like nice thick mids, not detached vocals, and it's just a nice clean sound that I enjoy. This is the kind of IEM that I've been looking for and kind of hunting for and fully enjoy. I wanted to show you another set like the Jazir 61T. Sometimes you can have a nice graph, but it doesn't always sound as good as you want. The Jazir 61T is a nice set, but to me, I just wanted to show you another presentation that sometimes you can have a nice graph, but it always doesn't sound exactly how you would want it to. So like finding something that graphs well and sounds good in ear isn't always good. Now, don't get me wrong, the Jazir 61T is a nice set and it gets a recommendation, but it's something to note about tonality of how IEMs can sound in ear, and that there is like that feeling of technicality that a lot of people talk about. And that could be explained by a lot of things, but I just kind of wanted to point that out a little bit since this is the review of what it is. I wanted to look at some of other XENNS stuff real quick and talk about them. I did like the Pro. Actually, let's look at what we have first, the Mangird T Pro. Now, this is a nice set, a little bit more sub bass. Its shell isn't as nice. And what I mean by that is the T Pro has a metallic shell, and I've listened to that IEM a lot. And the problem with that IEM, I feel like it doesn't resonate the bass that it has. Like its bass shelf doesn't feel as strong and impactful to me, whereas the Top Pro fixes that. And because of its very kind of slender, light shell and resin nature, I feel that it translates the bass energy in a better way. I might just be spitting here and just trying to explain it, but I do feel that the bass in the T Pro is much better than the Top Pro, and I like it a lot more. They've done a lot of other ones like the T Pro, which is like, you know, a little bit more lean. It really wasn't my take. The XENNS Up, which, you know, it doesn't graph bad, but just didn't really sound good. And so I don't know, for me, for the ones that I've heard from XENNS, this is my favorite one that I have heard so far. A lot of people have asked me, how does this compare to the Astral? I really like the Astral. I think the Astral is a fine set, and I think the Astral kind of fits my needs at that price. Now, if we normalize this at, say, 800, you'll notice that the Mangird Top Pro just has a little bit more thicker mids, a little bit more bass, a little bit more air and treble. This is very slight. This is very minor. This is very like tiny preferences, almost like a shade of brown of someone's hair. Like, oh, I prefer someone with dark brown hair. I prefer someone with slightly more auburn hair. These are very minor things, but there is different tonalities and tunes to them. The Top Pro does have better treble. Part of that might be that the Astral kind of has this giant peak at 15K, but that doesn't mean the Astral's bad. And I would say the amount of diminishing returns between these two is extremely minor, and I wouldn't recommend one over the other. Like, if you can afford the Top Pro, it is packaged better, it is sound better, and I've spent a lot of money on this hobby, and I will say that, like, to me, the Top Pro is worth it. So is the Astral. What's the better value? You have to find value yourself rather than have it explained to me. I do have a ranking list, and I have set that out there, but that's something you got to figure out if you can afford it or if it's something you want. And a lot of people have been asking me about the Monarch Mark III versus this. You'll notice very similar kind of mids. Now, there are different units to the Monarch, so you need to be a little bit careful with which ones you get. Like there's this other unit that I got from Mark Ryan, who's another reviewer from Super Reviews, and his unit's just a little bit different. And so that his is in yellow. And so to note that there are different IEMs that do measure differently. As far as detail, pristineness, there is something in the Monarch Mark MK2 that to me really resonates. It's a very good set and it's easy to recommend. Is it going to be worth the additional price? It's hard to say. The Mangird Top Pro to me might be a little bit better. I think the shell's more dynamic. The packaging's better. It's also a lot cheaper, and it becomes like one of those, if you're looking for that kind of tonality with heck even better bass, and that's kind of my problem with the Monarch, is that its bass felt kind of pillowy. On the version that I had, it felt better, but even I think that, there's things to like on the XENNS Mangird Top Pro with the bass being even better and a little bit more impactful that you might like even more. I'm going to compare this to the Cantor. Now, I like the Cantor a lot. The Cantor's a lot more even kiltered. Now, there is different settings with this. It has more details. So, like, the weakness of the Mangird Top Pro when you compare it to the very finite IEMs is that the detail, the pristineness isn't quite the same. But the problem with the Cantor is that the Cantor doesn't have, it fits a little bit silly. I know Afu is doing a new one here pretty soon. I'm interested in that. But it's something to note that like it has a different feeling and a flow to it, and like the Cantor can be kind of headache burning. Like its amount of detail can be a little bit too much, whereas the Mangird Top Pro is like one of those all day, all the time sets. And like if someone was looking for one IEM and not a flavor plate of IEMs, which a lot of people have in this hobby, the Mangird Top Pro at $500 is pretty darn hard to beat. Look at the Annihilator graph, how similar that is. It doesn't have as much bass or mid bass as it has a little bit less 10K, a different approach to air detail. You might like the Top Pro better. The Annihilator kind of has this special kind of majestical sense to it, but it's also a different set altogether with different levels of detail. You might like one or the other, and to even put the $500 IEM up against one of my favorite IEMs is pretty impressive. So you really have to know kind of what you're looking at. If you're looking at something a little bit more on the edge, a little bit more pristine, a little bit more fun, the Annihilator is kind of that, where the Top Pro is a little bit more flat, almost studio tuned, but a solid set nonetheless. Now, how does it compare versus something like the Valhalla? The Valhalla is all BA. They both have good treble. There is something about the treble and detail about the Valhalla, like the upper air on it isn't as pristine as I might like. It does have a lot of bass. They do have different drivers. The Mangird Top Pro is more comfortable, and the differences between these two are so minor. It's really something that you should probably try to demo both of these first, but one's like 4 times the cost as the other one, and so it's kind of something to think about. Okay, the XENNS Mangird Top Pro, let's rank it up. I mean, it's a solid ass IEM. Like, it doesn't have a lot of faults, where a lot of IEMs at this price, like the Cantor, even the Cadenza, or even the Jupiter and the Omnium, they all have a lot of faults. The XENNS Mangird Top Pro doesn't have a lot of faults, and that's kind of the beauty of it. In some ways, I almost think I should rank it higher, but I'm still kind of debating on where I want to do it. Like, I almost want to say that this is almost like a first impression, almost like a reserved, laid-back first impression. Like, it has really nice bass, and there's no problems with the bass. It's very clean and clear cut, but it's not super popping off. But it's a nice bass. It has nice mids. They're very clean, very pristine. It has great treble. It has great imaging. It has great note weight. I mean, there's a lot of things to be said about this IEM, and in some ways, it's just one of my favorite IEMs for what it does and how great this overall IEM is. As far as we look at other IEMs at this price, in this price category of say 400 to 900, I think it's highly competitive. I think it's one of the better sets out there. As that for me, as it fits my tuning philosophy of what I want. It has a better bass presence than almost all the other IEMs here. It's better than the Cantor. It's better than the Mystic Gate. It's a better mid-range than the Hype 10. It's upper air and treble. I mean, it does so many things well. It has very few faults, but it also has very good treble to boot. And so it kind of hits all the markers that I would want in an IEM, and I really enjoy it. As far as like if you look at the brand and like what other IEMs that XENNS has, like for me, it's the best IEM that XENNS has done. You know, this IEM has gotten a lot of hype, and that's part of the reason is what's interested me to it. And sometimes I'll see an IEM that's been hyped really hot, and I've seen and watched a lot of good reviews of it, and I'll get it at home and try not to let the hype fall into it. But the fact is that this is just a really good set. It has nice everything. It's just a nice all across the board IEM that's really light and really comfortable, and it works for me. Is it going to work for you? Maybe, maybe not. Is this the best value in hi-fi? It's hard to call anything this expensive of value, but it is packaged well. It is pretty. The shell is very, very comfortable for me, and I feel like it's world-class invented. Like again, for what I want, this hits a lot of targets and markers. Is this the best? No. I mean, when I talk about how good IEMs are, I just talk about how good they are for me, not for other people. But for me, this set hits a lot of things. Like if we could do some short comparisons, like versus the Volume S, it has that cleanness of the Volume S, but better bass. It has the uniqueness and almost darkness of the Arcanus, but it's just overall a better, more engaging sonic quality with less sibilance. Its strength is that it never has sibilance. But another thing you have to think about is when I do a lot of EQing, I EQ to a target that looks exactly like mine. I EQ to a target that looks almost identical to the Mangird Top Pro. So for me, this is something that I want, I shoot for, I desire for, and it works for me and for my ear canal. So for me, this is a really solid set, and I really enjoy it. It gets a full recommendation. But again, be responsible with your money and always try to demo when you can. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I might do a second video with some additional comparisons another day, but life and work has kept me busy. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye.
And I half expected it to be made of wood. You are without doubt the worst
audio file
I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
You're still here. It's over. Go home. Oh, you're expecting a teaser for our next video. Well, we don't have that kind of money. What are you expecting? One of those store reviewers to show up in a saucy little leather number? Go. Oh, I can tell you one thing. We are going to have a collab video. We have no idea what it's going to be. Probably Kryn, maybe Chris, or Joyce. Don't deny it. She's got range. Go. Get out of here.
Go! Go!
Go.
Go on with you!
You're mid, you're mid, you're mid, you're legendary. You're mid, Jaytiss out.